on this New Year's first Sunday of the month, in which we are thankful to be alive and to be present. As we enter into the new year and in the watch service, we challenge people to begin to think about their timeline of life and the mistakes as well as the positive things that have taken place. But more or less to look at ourselves in that we continue to realize that there are things in our lives that need working on, that need improving, that we will allow God to come into our life and begin to fix what's broken. You have to invite him in for him to come in. He won't force his way into your life, but he wants to renew you and re-energize you for this new year, for this 2020, and for all that it holds for you. I pray that this word of God may in some way enlighten you and challenge you to allow God to have his way in your life. The lesson today, the text that we will be considering is Joshua chapter 3, and we're concerned with verses 5 through 9 of chapter 3. Starts out with, and Joshua said to the people, "Sanctify yourselves, for tomorrow the Lord will do wonders among you." Let me read that again. And Joshua said to the people, "Sanctify yourselves, for tomorrow the Lord will do wonders among you." Then Joshua spoke to the priests, saying, "Take up the ark of the covenant and cross over before the people." So they took up the ark of the covenant and went before the people. And the Lord said to Joshua, "This day I will begin to exalt you in the sight of all Israel, that they may know that as I was with Moses, so I will be with you. You shall command the priests who bear the ark of the covenant, saying, when you have come to the edge of the water of the Jordan, you shall stand in the Jordan." So Joshua said to the children of Israel, "Come here and hear the word of the Lord your God." And today we want to hang our hat around that. Come and hear what the Lord has to say. Hear the words of the Lord your God. We know that in life, and as we look into the new year, we're always hopeful of success, of things being even better than they was in the previous year. And if last year wasn't a good year for you, and if things wasn't the way that you wanted it to be, if it didn't end on the positive note that you had hoped for it to be, well, rest assured that God does have a blueprint for your life. He has a way of keeping us even when we can't see the hand of God at work in our life.
All right.
For a topic, I would like to use the blueprint for life.
Amen.
You know, we need a blueprint. Joshua, at the particular position that he is now placed in, he needs the blueprint that God has for his life. In that we see that Moses had did all he could. He had brought the children of Israel all the way to the point that God had declared that he was now going to select Joshua to carry them over into the new land. You know, when you have completed your task, you can only go as far as God would have for you to go. And then he brings on someone else that he has poured out his spirit into this young man as a lad. Him and Caleb were the only two of the spies that went into to sort out the new land, that came back with the good report that the land is plentiful and the giants are looming all about, but we can take them. We can win because I have a history, a recollection of the God that I have served, and that of all the battles that I've ever been in, I've always won. You know, how about you today? Have you been in some battles in life?
All right.
You were assured of victory because of who you had put your trust in, that the same God who brought you to those issues and through those problems is yet still on the throne, that he is still working it out on your behalf. We see that now that Joshua has taken the helm, he has brought these Israelites who have been wandering for over 40 years. He has now brought them to the land of promise. Have you been in exile? Sometimes we seem to feel that we have can't hear from God, where things are not just working out the way you had a plan in 2018, and throughout the whole course of 2019, you didn't see any progress. You didn't see where your life had gotten any better at, and you began to wonder if God was still there, if he was yet doing something on your behalf. And Joshua was reassured that just as God had been with Moses, that he would be with him, that he was going to bring him into a rich, full life. But he did give him the blueprint. And this morning, I want you to know that if you're going to be successful for God, if you're going to make it and be able to be a light for other people to follow you, then you too will have to have the blueprint for life.
All right.
In the blueprint, we begin to see some things begin to take place here, that as Joshua was beginning to line the people up, and that God began to speak with Joshua. Do you not know that God will speak with you when you ask him to show up in your life?
Yes, he will.
If you've been working your own plan and your plan don't seem to work out, then God is saying, try me. Allow me to come in and to do the very thing that you can't do. And in the promise that God is making with Joshua, he's letting him know that even though the ground that there is no ground, that the river is overflowed and the water has extended beyond the river to overflow into the land, and that the people on the other side that occupy the land of Jericho, they feel confident that the water will keep you all separated, and that God has declared that when the altar touches the water, when the priests who are carrying the altar, when their feet will begin to touch into the water, that God has declared that I will stop the water upstream. I will hold it up, and then I will allow the place that where the ark is standing to become dry ground, that the Israelites may walk over into the other side.
Yeah.
Do you not know that sometimes in the presence of your enemies, God declares that I will prepare a table before you? He is now showing them that they don't have to fight to win the war, that they have to trust in the all-knowing God as he makes the provision. Sometimes God works on the fly. Sometimes he don't give you a pre-itinerary of what he is going to do in your life. Yeah. Sometimes God says to us, roll with me. Because in the process of us trusting him, he begins to work out everything that we view as a problem, as a situation, as a hindrance for us becoming everything that we ought to become in our life. He goes on in talking with Joshua to let him know some things of an assurity that is going to take place if he would just keep his confidence and his trust in him. Sometimes when God gives us an assignment, we may feel overwhelmed or perplexed as to, do we have the ability? Are we confident enough that we're going to ensure victory in what God has assigned for us to do? There are some promises that God makes along the way.
Yeah.
I would just like to talk about a few of the promises that God made with Joshua, and to let you know that the promises of God are so sure that they continue to exist for us today. If we can look back at the blueprint for Joshua, then we can then take the same formula and it will work for our good. The first thing that God reminds Joshua is that no man shall be able to stand before you. It's good news to know that with all that's going on in the world today, that God has promised you victory no matter what. No matter what it looks like or appears to be right now, there is nothing bigger than your God. He wants Joshua to know that no other nation will be able to come against you and win. For the word was that when they sought to